Canada, country of three oceans and polite people. Canadians are known worldwide as being polite. But is the Canadian government as polite as its people? Canada has built up an image of being a humanitarian country. We're ready to help those in need, ready to bring justice and democracy to the world. But did you know that Canada's shiny image is tarnished? And we can see it as we shed a brighter light on it. I'm Deanna Zed, and stay with me while I shine a light on Canada and Canadian shit. Did you know that Canada has helped oust democratically elected left-wing governments in the Americas? And the list is long, and it all started in 1954 with Guatemala. And then they went on to the Dominican Republic, Chile, Brazil 3 times, Bolivia, Venezuela, and Haiti. Now, what I want to talk about today is Haiti. Now, years ago, well, in the early 2000s, as Jean-Bertrand Aristide faced his first coup, the Canadian media repeated what was being said in the States, and that was that the government of Aristide was facing problems, economic problems, the people weren't happy, and so, well, he was to be gotten rid of. Now, before I get into a lot of the details, I just want to, without giving a history lesson, just want to talk a little bit about Aristide, because there's a lot of things about him that, if you listen to the media on TV, you don't know. So he was born into poverty, started school at the age 5 with the priests of the Salesian order, and that's a Catholic institute founded by John Bosco, who was an Italian priest devoted to helping the poor children during the Industrial Revolution. Now, in 1974, he graduated with honors from the Collège Notre Dame in Haiti, studied also philosophy and psychology as post-grad studies. In 1979, he went to study in Italy, in Greece, in Palestine. And in 1982, he returned to Haiti, and he was adorned as a priest and became a curate of a small parish in the capital, Port-au-Prince. During his childhood and studies, Haiti at the time was ruled by the Duvalier family of dictators. So there was a Papa Doc, and then there was Baby Doc Duvalier. And they reigned from 1957 to 1986. And the people were in misery, to say the least. Aristide began to speak out against the oppressive dictatorship and the corrupt hierarchy of the church in his sermons, which brought him to a 3-year exile in Montreal, Quebec. Now, in 1985, Aristide was back in Haiti, and there was a popular opposition to the Duvalier regime. The opposition was on the rise, and Aristide preached, quote, "The path of those Haitians who reject the regime is the path of righteousness and love." He founded an orphanage for street children, and then became a target for attack for becoming the voice of the dispossessed. And he actually survived 4 assassination attempts And in 1988, the most famous attempt was the Saint Jean Bosco massacre of on the 11th of September, another famous date. What's with the 11th of September? I don't know. That was in 1988. And during this massacre, the police and the army just stood by and watched. The Salesian order expelled him, citing, and I quote, for incitement of hatred and violence. To which Aristide responded, the crime, quote, the crime of which I am accused of is the crime of preaching food for all men and women. Jesus could not accept people going hungry. It is a conflict of classes, rich and poor. And he left the priesthood. So during his first presidency, 1990, he left the priesthood. Now, during his first presidency, he tried to install reforms, but the business and military elites strongly opposed. Because he wanted to bring the military under civilian control. And in so doing so, he retired the commander-in-chief, Erard Abraham. He also investigated human rights violations and brought to trial members of the 1988 massacre who were still in Haiti. And he also examined the bank accounts of well-known Haitians before they immigrated. So in 3 words, Aristide had enemies. So 8 months later, he was overthrown in a CIA-backed, and when I say CIA, well, Canada is always with the States, always happy to help. And so it was a bloody military coup. And during that time, he founded the Struggling People's Organization. Now, this isn't a history lesson. I just wanted to show how Aristide was for the people. Any argument against him came from the elites and the control freak military. So 3 times the people voted him in. I wonder why. Because he wanted to help the poor. He wanted to raise the wages of the workers. He wanted the workers to be unionized. And he wanted to have the military by the people, for the people. And so, what was Canada's role in this? Stay tuned for part 2 of Canada and Canadian shit in Haiti.